Welcome to the Top 10 Objective Best Games of 2023 YouTube Top 10 list. This is highbrow content. 2023 was an interesting year for games because everybody seemed to think it was great, except me. Sequel with a reused map, other sequel with a reused map, remake, Alan Wake 2. Wow, the gaming industry is thriving, right guys? But there were games that really surprised me and stood out, and a lot of games on my backlog that I finally got to play. So here it is, your high quality, objective, I repeat, objective, Best Games of 2023 YouTube Top 10 list on YouTube Top 10. Number 10. I'm gonna fucking kill myself. You guys want to see something cool? I did that shit. Yomi Hustle is a turn-based fighting game where you have to outpredict your enemy and combo them 50 times. If that didn't get your penis hard, this video is clearly not for you. If you're a girl, please stay though. Depending on if you're winning or losing, this game is either the best game in the world or fucking garbage. But you know me, I never give up. There's only 4 characters and a skilled player can easily destroy all of them. You have to assess the frame data and guess what your opponent is going to do. Are they attacking? If so, which one? Are they blocking, dodging, jumping? And then you land the first attack. At this point, if you're this guy, you get up and go for a walk, because you're going to be comboing this guy for the next 10 real-life minutes, and it's sick. There's a lot of depth and fancy stuff you can do to extend your combo, and watching the match at the very end is so cool. And once they add more characters and cheating, for me specifically, it's going to be perfect. This year, I played a lot of new games, and I hated most of them, but the one I hated the most was Final Fantasy 16. It starts off really strong, the combat is fun and exciting, the story has a really strong and mature hook, and the pacing is brilliant. It's structured more like Bayonetta than a traditional RPG, but that's fine in my book. Over time though, Final Fantasy 16 falls off a cliff, like way the fuck off. This game went from a perfect 10 in its first half to a 1 in the second. It's so fucking bad. The pacing just goes terminal with these horrible MMO fetch quest sequences. The combat system completely runs out of steam as you mindlessly tear through reused enemies and bosses. The story goes from a well-written political drama to shonen shit. The characters have no direction and don't talk to one another. Villains and side characters just spawn in to die or give you more chores to do. When Final Fantasy 16 was done, I felt like I had been ripped off because I had. So I had to cleanse myself. Final Fantasy 6 is the opposite of 16. Why? It's the one, stupid. This game is old and gameplay-wise it shows. The rate of encounters definitely got on my nerves, but it's pretty shocking how much ambitious stuff the game does. The music is the first thing. I mean, look at this shit. The atmosphere of Final Fantasy 6 is really something to marvel at for a Super Nintendo game, and it relies heavily on the soundtrack, this moody organ. It's just really good. But what grabbed me the most was the characters. There's a lot of them, and it's pretty insane how much of an impact they make with a really small amount of dialogue. Edgar's this cool king, and his younger brother Sabin is like Jaden Smith or something. Celis was my favorite though. She starts as this Empire general, but has a cute little romance with Locke, and the opera scene and the suicide scene, I really like this one. It's a great RPG that has stood the test of time, and it gets my Tempokin seal of approval. Put it on there. Pikmin is my favorite game on the GameCube, but the rest, I think Pikmin 2 was super overrated and suffers from consistently terrible design, and I really have no interest in the third one. I played the phone game and sent a yellow Pikmin to Afghanistan, but he never came back. Pikmin 4 finally recaptured the magic of the series for me. I mean, look at this game. This is the same console that brought you Pokemon Scarlet. Pikmin 4 is super fun with a wealth of well-designed areas. It's just a warm game. I could play this on Christmas Day and my heart would grow 3 sizes. But it's also just challenging enough that I can lock in and go gamer mode. Combat is super easy, but managing everything, it takes work. You could go into Pikmin 4 and learn how to manage your real life. This game could fix your marriage or get you that promotion at CVS you've been wanting. But I really enjoyed my time with Pikmin 4, and it's actually selling well, which means we might get another one before I'm 30. Good job, Miyamoto. If you could send me back that yellow Pikmin, I'd really appreciate it. Skyrim is a fun game, and I really hate admitting that. Something about walking through 500 identical tombs, killing 500 identical skeletons just does things for me. What Skyrim isn't is narratively interesting in any meaningful way. Or so you thought. No, you've simply been fooled by Todd Howard the bastard. It's okay, it happens to all of us. Tamriel is a really cool fantasy world, really cool and kind of batshit, with a lot of lore and culture, but what Skyrim fails to do is actually incentivize the player to get invested in it. Morrowind, on the other hand, is way more interested in getting you involved. You're fresh off the boat from somewhere, people keep screaming at you and calling you slurs, the combat sucks so hard and is irredeemable in every aspect, all you want to do is turn the shitty fucking game off. But then, there's something about the world that draws you in. Playing Morrowind is genuinely like landing on another planet. Slowly uncovering the weird lore of the Tribunal will genuinely send you into a schizophrenic episode. The books here aren't flavor texts, they're important and entertaining to read. There's no quest markers, so you're forced to read the dialogue. All the cities are confusing and had their infrastructure designed by a blind person with no legs. It's a game from a very different time that would never be made today, but if you have the patience, it's worth the effort and there's something really special here.
Space-time anomalies detected on this station. There is no additional data.
There is no higher honor for a video game than to be called an autism game. This is not derogatory. This is a game that's so perfect that only those of a higher intellect can alt-tab from the new season of Rick and Morty and pierce the veil to enjoy these works of art. Created in 2003 in the Beyond launcher, the fuck? Space Station 13 started off as an atmospheric simulator made by a mysterious individual. Somehow his code leaked, and over 20 years the game transformed into what it is now, a round-based roleplay, multiplayer, simulator game. It's kinda hard to describe, but it's really a game where you can do anything, assuming the admins don't catch you. Essentially, you have two things you have to do. One, do your actual job, and two, don't die. It's very important everybody does those two things, or chances are, everybody will die. Miners need to mine materials so science can develop new technology. Security needs to stop any dangerous people on the station. Medical, that's what I play, needs to patch up any of the victims caused by the dangerous people, and more likely security trying to catch them. And engineering needs to fix the hospital I just blew up with a pipe bomb I made. Whoops! Watch out for the station's power plant currently being blown up by actual Satan. You really don't want that to happen. Each round takes about an hour and a half, but you can join halfway through. If there's nothing pertinent for you to do, then you can really start having fun and experimenting with the game's systems, which is where it really shines. Atmospheric simulation, electrical wiring, metabolism, surgery, and so much more. For example, let's scroll the chemistry page. That is one job out of like 50 on one server. It's very inaccessible, it's very difficult to play, but it's super special to me and I've never played anything else like it, which is why I've played this game for years. Shut the fuck up! If you think you can tolerate a heavy learning curve, give it a shot. During the development of Fallout 2, a handful of developers, notably including Tim Kaine, walked away from Interplay. In that moment, a legend was born. Troika Games is a studio you've probably heard of and never touched. It was around for less than 10 years, but they were insanely good, and they opened with a bang. Arcanum is a fantasy CRPG about, oh, you know, a couple things. The world of Arcanum is going through an industrial revolution, and magic and machinery don't really mix, like in a physics way. This is from the manual, by the way, which is awesome. It's written in-universe and is like 5 million pages long. It's a mature world, and it mirrors our own industrial revolution, with the consequences of industry being a major theme. Racial pseudoscience, formation of new government, conspiracy, it's all here along with night elves and necromancers summoning spooky skeletons. The main story is less of a plot and more of a way for you to learn about the history of this world and the consequences of what's happening. It's really cool and unique, and has a lot of that old RPG goodness where there's tons of unique ways to solve any problem you find yourself in, and the game rewards creative solutions. Combat isn't Arcanum's strong suit, but character creation and development is. I really like how much it makes you specialize. By the end of New Vegas or something, if you play the game right, you'll pretty much have max skills in everything, or at least everything you want. Arcanum really forces you to specialize, which gives your character a really strong identity. Are you a chemist, a mechanic, a necromancer, a smooth talker? I've never had a game give me more panic attacks over where I should put my skill points. I'm wolfing down my antipsychotics every time I level up. I love Arcanum. It's a beautiful, well-realized world, and I'm so happy I explored it, and I totally, accidentally started a race riot. Whoops! I am Octopath Traveler's biggest dick rider. It's true, I have a certificate on my wall to prove it. Back before I Jeffrey Dahmered my YouTube channel, I had started a series on the plot of Octopath Traveler, which is not good. Octopath's story is boring and stale. There's just nothing here in terms of interesting characters and world building. But the non-story elements are so fantastic that I love the game anyway. Building your characters is extremely rewarding, and Break and Boost is my favorite turn-based combat system ever. The graphics are beautiful, the music is untouchable, and there's such a solid sense of exploration as you make your way across the world. When Octopath Traveler 2 was announced, I felt the wider gaming community go collectively flaccid, but not me, I was hard. Octopath Traveler 2 doubles down on everything the first game did right and wrong, and it's exactly what I wanted. So much so that is now the second game I've 100% on Steam, and it took way fucking longer than Psychonauts. The music is phenomenal, the combat is fast, the new areas are awesome. My only problem is that the game is really easy. You can just nuke your way through every boss in the game in just a few turns, especially if you played the first one. And then you get to the super boss, and there's this insane difficulty spike that fucks you. The super boss is so ridiculously overtuned that pretty much everybody resorts to a YouTube guide, and I think that's lame, because creative party building is something the game does really well. If you want a fantastic RPG with a perfect combat system and great dungeons and exploration, you should pick this one up. This will probably be the last Octopath game because look at those sales numbers. Oh my god, I'm coping so hard, shoot me. I've really never gotten into super awesome, competitive video gaming. By the time I get good enough to actually start grinding out elo, I've probably gotten bored. I just don't care enough to sacrifice my central nervous system to farm diva fart porn points for 17 hours a day. But you know what I do like? Pokemon. Yeah, I know, I'm Hitler, but Game Freak victimized me at a young age, and I don't think I'll ever shake the Stockholm Syndrome. This is the year I started playing competitive Pokemon, specifically competitive Pokemon Emerald. I played a lot of Gen 3 OU on Pokemon Showdown this year. Over 2,000 games on 8 accounts, and that's not including the 2 tournaments I played in. If you think this is indicative of my mental state, it's because it is. It's Pokemon. There's a lot of annoying shit. Watch in amazement as I lose tournament matches for real money to misses, burn chance, and critical hits.
Gonna drop now. It missed Rock Slide, despite all that work. The 2 Swords Dances, the batten out. It misses Rock Slide. Oh gosh. Sorry about that, Tempokin. That's really unlucky.
Despite that though, I really do like it, and it's also free in a browser, come on. But Tempokin, why don't you play the masterpiece Pokemon Scarlet? Yeah, okay. Why are you playing this Jurassic era shit? Wow. Compared to other generations, the Gen 3 competitive experience hits a perfect balance between way too slow and frustrating and way too fast and frustrating. You can actually build individual Pokemon in interesting ways rather than spamming their strongest move 500 times, and the central Pokemon in the meta all have a weakness you can counter. It's surprisingly balanced, and I've had a lot of fun, and I'm still just so fucking mad about this.
King Arthur came a lot, didn't he?
I think you mean that he's associated with the court of Camelot.
Multiplayer games are dead. There are no new exciting games that you can play with your friends, and I know this because people are genuinely praising Lethal Company, and Valorant has 700,000 concurrent players. Good lord, have some self-respect. Baldurs Gate 3 is the first multiplayer game to come out in 6 years, and the last one was made by the same people. Even if this game wasn't multiplayer, it would have still solidly earned its place here. I know people are mad about this game right now because it got jerked off to all hell at the Game Awards, but it sorta deserved it. Choice-driven RPGs are pretty rare nowadays, and this one does everything one of them should masterfully. The main narrative is exciting and well-written, characters are interesting and well-animated, quests are fun to do and have permanent consequences, the world is beautiful and a joy to explore, the combat is engaging and satisfying, and most importantly, it never gets repetitive, which is pretty hard to do in a 120-hour game, Jesus Christ. I had so much fun playing this game with my friend.
The heat's perfect.
And I had a blast coming back and playing it alone, which is something I still haven't finished, and probably never will because this game is 120 hours long. Some of the characters are worse than the others, and not every class is a winner, but going to Baldur's Gate was cool as hell, and I'm happy I got to do it with a friend. You want to know what's better than one Troika game? 2 Troika games. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is a game about vampire party politics in Los Angeles. The Camarilla are the current form of vampire government, tasked to uphold the masquerade and keep vampire kinda secret, but the Anarchs think the Camarilla are unreasonable and that you don't need a government to uphold it. Even worse, even the Camarilla hate their current leader, LaCroix, because he's an egomaniac who isn't even trying to hide the fact he's trying to take over the world or some shit. You are dropped into this conflict after getting bit in a seedy hotel and will end up deciding the future of LA. It's a super weird setup, but it's awesome. Characters take center stage in Bloodlines. There's a lot of them, but they're all memorable. I feel like I could just play dialogue and have this game make its case for itself. Every single person from key NPCs to shopkeepers has a unique personality and an all-star voice actor. They're pretty well animated for a game that came out in 2004. They don't just mouth at you like Bethesda NPCs. I love how Strauss leans in when he wants to tell you a secret he shouldn't.
I think that Sebastian Lacroix lacks the usual discretion necessary to be a prince.
I love this guy. Atmosphere is a huge part of Bloodlines. You're plunged into LA in the early 2000s. Hollywood is littered with porn shops, and all these clubs keep blasting Evanescence. Chinatown has all these weirdos having corporate gang wars, and Santa Monica is filled with homeless people. You go through this actually scary haunted house before sneaking into the Museum of Natural History. It's great, and the soundtrack is insanely good. I actually got my 2023 YouTube Music Wrapped recently and found out I had listened to the soundtrack on loop for over 47 hours. Combat sucks. It's passable at best, but for most of the game, it's terrible. Fan patches exist to fix the worst fit, but some of these dungeons later in the game just don't fucking end. I don't know what they were thinking with the sewer level. But if you push through the combat, you will find one of the most captivating worlds and characters I've found in games. It's really special, and easily my game of the year. Thank you all for watching. I know it's been a while. I've been super busy with other stuff, but I'm doing very well. Better than I have in my entire life. My Twitter got suspended because I said the magic words, so go follow my new one. More Tempokin videos to come in 2024? Maybe.